Well, my body map is just a picture of a girl doll that represents me. When I was little, I used to like to draw pictures of girls and put clothes on them, like a fashion designer. That's what I wanted to be when I was 11 years old. And so it's pretty much the same drawing that I used to do when I was little. I'm putting in a dress that my grandmother, that I saw a picture of her when she came from Nicaragua, with an off-the-shoulder white shirt and a red skirt with some flowers on it. So I'm going to try to draw that on my body map. I have some pictures of my grandma and my 3 sons. So in my body map today, I'm planning to add a basket of flowers and put my kids' faces and a heart in that basket. And some of the things to represent my grandmother, who comes from Nicaragua. I have a picture of a house from Nicaragua. She passed away 3 years ago, and she had 2 birds, which are now my birds. I never had birds before, but now I have birds, and their names are Limon and Lima, which mean lime and lemon. So I'm going to draw them on my body map. I have a flag of Nicaragua and also a flag of Mexico, although my grandmother was born in Nicaragua, as was my mother. I was born here in the United States, and my ex-husband was Mexican, so my kids are Mexican. And in fact, when I was younger, my mother got married and moved to Mexico, so I went to live in Mexico for 3 years, so I'm more familiar with the Mexican culture than I am than the Nicaraguan culture. So I cook Mexican food, and so it's kind of both cultures. Nicaraguan because that's where my grandmother and my mother are from, but Mexico because that's where I lived, and my husband and my children. So my grandmother told me about Nicaragua, and I'd never been, but she told me stories about Nicaragua when she was a little girl. She grew up in poverty. She was an orphan when she was 8 years old. She worked as a housekeeper in homes of more affluent people. She came to the United States alone when she was 22. She moved to New York and decided she didn't like New York and decided to settle in San Francisco, where she worked as a seamstress in a mattress factory all of her life. My mother was already born when my grandmother immigrated to the United States and came when she was 14. So they both kind of, after my mother was separated from my father, they both kind of settled in the Mission District of San Francisco, and that's where I lived. I grew up in San Francisco in the early 70s. I was born in 1958, so my junior high and high school years were in the Mission District, and it was very diverse as far as cultures, much more so than Santa Rosa. The majority of Latinos in Santa Rosa tend to be Mexican, although there are people from El Salvador and other countries. My experience in San Francisco was, I had a lot of friends that were Puerto Rican, Salvadorian, Nicaraguan, Mexican. I would like to see more equality. I see Santa Rosa as being very segregated, and I see that there's not equal opportunities for some of the students, Latino students primarily. I'm hoping with this local cultural funding that's coming into the schools that could be the equalizer, and more monies are given to those schools of high poverty to kind of equalize this, what's going on. I think encouraging higher education from early on, but I think it entails a lot. I think they need to get down to kindergarten and elementary to start encouraging that. They need to educate the parents the possibilities. I think there needs to be a lot more parent classes, parent classes for parents. There needs to be universal preschool, so it kind of goes way down, not just wait till the kids get to high school and tell a parent who's not familiar with the educational system here that, oh, your kid can go to college too. I really think it needs to be instilled, when they're younger.